Yeah, I'm invited from them.
What?
Greg gave it to me.
Hey, well, Mike.
What? I'm Dan.
Dan.
Yeah.
Charlie knows.
This agenda's against those that I put out 2 weeks ago. This is all roads and triangles.
Oh, I think.
Now, the next, now that's interesting, yes, this is the real estate tax
Hey, Mike. Been a while since I've seen you. North Pennsylvania yesterday. He got a better job in the school district. He's very, very happy. Exactly the job he wanted in the school district. And it worked out very, very well. He told me yesterday he got
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Doug. Hey, good. How are you? Good. He was nervous, but he got a contract. No complaints. Whatever job he was framing.
Yeah, I guess you would.
We were on the chair.
gentlemen.
Supposed to be assessed at
Dan, how you doing? Every time I think about it, no, I got you. Good, good.
well, you can up at a time major phases we always had to go ready.
No, I just like the company, so I kind of listen with it, so yeah, so it comes good. How are you doing? Is it exciting for you?
That was a letter to the editor. It's like the most conspiracy theory thing. Yeah, we saw that this morning. Taking the minute. Yeah, how about oh, really? I know. That's what happens. You've got my email. Pass it along.
I'm left-handed.
All right, at the hour of 7 p.m., we're going to call the meeting to order, and first we'll do our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, clerk, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Adams.
Present.
Trustee Henderson.
Here.
Trustee Rickstrom.
Here.
Trustee Wojcicki.
Yes.
Trustee Beer.
Okay. All right. I just want
Before you move on, can I just ask something that I think is missing on the agenda?
what would that be?
Executive session.
I'm going to call for that when it comes time.
Are you going to do that? Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
It's always on the agenda, Bob, if you look at it.
But I thought you'd have something.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
I would think sometimes you probably want to put on there a little bit what it's about.
I will have Mr. Militello report the statute when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I just want to make a few comments. I'm going to run a very tight meeting tonight. Everyone's welcome to their opinion. You have 3 minutes to give your opinion in the beginning of the meeting and also at the end of the meeting. If there's any, there will be no cat calls, speaking out from the audience, etc. during the meeting. If that happens, I will give you one warning and then I will ask you to leave. It also goes for the board. If you're not recognized and you're calling out things, I'm going to give you one warning also. All right, let's move on. Public comment, I don't have the list. Okay, I first have Marty Swanson from Ringwood.
Good evening. This board has managed to give this township a very bad reputation. These are all the clippings from the past less than a month on the bus service termination. And every one of these comments had to do with it being a bad decision. And today's paper suggests that we may be giving tax incentives to a business. I'd like to suggest that instead of giving tax incentives, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with that word, that we use the tax money that this new business would generate to reinstate the bus service. It needs to happen. Something needs to happen to put the service back. Thank you.
All right, the next person on the agenda is Brian Arnold.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, my name is Brian Arnold. I grew up in this town. I lived here for 25 years. I currently live in Wonder Lake, within the township limits. Now, I don't own any property in this town, so I don't pay property taxes. I don't use the bus service, so I don't have a personal stake in this one way or the other. However, the right thing to do is keep this bus service in place. And if it takes me tipping in my own, how much is it, $7.59 per parcel to keep this bus service in place?
Less than 10.
Less than 10.
Harry, you can also not interrupt.
As I understand, as I was informed, it was $7.59. If this is what it takes to keep this bus service in place, I'll chip in my $8 and you can keep change.
Currently, we've dispensed with the addresses of the speakers. I want to make sure people are actually living in the township, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Arnold, could you come up and give your address, please? You're supposed to give your address. I didn't have you do that.
Of course.
Could you please use the microphone up there, please?
Yes.
The board.
My address is 7614 Deep Spring Road.
Okay, and I'll repeat that because the mic, 7614 Deep Springs Road, is that correct?
That is correct.
In Wonder Lake.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, the next person, thank you. The next person on here is Julianne Thomas. And Julianne, I need you to repeat your name and your address when you get to the podium. Thank you.
My name is Julianne Thomas. I live at 2917 East Wonder Lake Road, Wonder Lake, Illinois. I recently moved to Wonder Lake, but prior to that, for the last 25 years, I reside in Mchenry. Recently, I became disabled, so unfortunately, I cannot drive anymore, so I need to use the buses. Somebody has suggested that instead of the buses, we get PACE, which unfortunately you have to get 2 weeks in advance, and you're never going to get there in time because they're running so far behind. Or that we order cabs, or that other Uber, I don't know what it is. But when you're on Social Security disability, and you only have so much money to pay your bills, your food, and your living expenses, it's kind of hard to pay $30 for a cab ride. So we need this bus service. We need to be able to get around. Because it's not just the seniors using it. Unfortunately, I'm only 55, but I can no longer drive. And I use the service quite often. So please, for all the people who need it and can't afford cabs, we need to keep the service. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next I have a Judy Gottlieb.
Good evening. My name is Judy Gottlieb. I live at 2814 Regner Road in unincorporated Mchenry. In a previous meeting, Mike Towler aptly commented that providing services such as the Township Senior and Disabled Bus Service was part of the social contract. The social contract is the foundation of a democratic society and serves the common good. That principle is ignored by this board, by this board rationale for eliminating this and the bus service.
Hold on, let me,
Okay, all right. That principle is ignored by this board's rationale for eliminating the Township Senior and Disabled Bus Service, claiming that, quote, no one should have to pay for a service he doesn't use. Absent the social contract, the inverse to that justification would also be justified. No one should receive a service he hadn't paid for. Ironically, at least one member of this board has not paid his property taxes for the past 2 years.
Stand here.
Thanks. Ironically, at least one member of this board has not paid his property taxes for the past 2 years, yet he receives services from all levels of government, including the township. He uses the highways, receives fire protection and ambulance services, police protection, mosquito abatement, library access, and the opportunity to use public transit, even the Township Senior and Disabled Bus Service. But the social contract to which we all presumably subscribe ensures that those services are available to all of us as a common good. We all need emergency services, fire protection, roads, and so on. Even those things we don't personally use benefit all of us because our society as a whole benefits. Illinois quite sensibly requires elected municipal officials to be up to date on their taxes when they take office.
okay, Judy, please wrap.
I would remind that all for the last 10 or 11 years, people have been paying for this bus service with their property taxes or their rent, because your rent does include property taxes. When the township trustee doesn't pay his own taxes, I question his standing to vote to take away services from the citizens who have paid their taxes.
Next I have
Rob Beltran. My name is Robert Beltran, 2814 Regner Road, McHenry. When the board has voted to end bus service, it appeared from the discussion that some of the trustees may not be clear on how federal grants work. The assumption was that by denying a federal grant subsidizing the bus service, you would be saving McHenry taxpayers money. As one who has worked for 23 years for a federal agency managing federal grants, I can tell you that by failing to utilize a federal grant, you are doing quite the opposite. Federal grant dollars are set aside by Congress in block amounts. The agencies are then directed to allocate those dollars competitively among applicants. Dollars not spent in McHenry Township will be allocated to another applicant, possibly somewhere else in McHenry County, and probably somewhere else altogether. McHenry Township residents pay federal taxes that feed into those grants, but we will now not have the opportunity to realize the benefit of those taxes. Instead, we will be subsidizing bus service for people in Crystal Lake, maybe, or Chicago, possibly California, perhaps Vermont, places where the governments listen to and respect their constituents when they tell them how much they value bus service. Instead of saving McHenry Township taxpayers any federal tax dollars, we're denying them value for the dollars they've paid. On behalf of many McHenry Township residents of limited means and who face physical, mental, or emotional challenges, and particularly those who lack familial or community support networks, or those who need door-to-door assistance and specialized vehicular transport, I ask this board to seriously reconsider suspension of the township bus service. Please listen to the citizens you are charged and sworn to serve. They don't just want this, they need this. We taxpayers are willing and happy to pay for this. It would be worthwhile at 10 times the price. And please remember, your role as trustees is to serve, not to cease services.
Okay, next I have Jen Frito. Jen. John McCredo, please. Thank you.
John McCredo, 1733 Pine Street, McHenry, Illinois. You know, it's pretty obvious to me, and I relate this to when you were trying to get rid of the road district, and then it went to a final vote, and the vote district got voted in. I'm sure if you had your way, we wouldn't have a road district either. And you're trying to do the same thing with the senior bus service. I mean, it's obvious you've woken up a giant here of one of which I don't think you realize the magnitude of. I mean, we probably should look at setting up a committee, if you will. I mean, I think we all do want to save tax dollars, just the way we do it. You know, you call it tax revolt, let's call it tax reform. If you set up a committee, there might be other ways to move people to work, to the hospital, to their doctor's appointments. You know, you might get some employers, Myers or Jewel, that will give their people vouchers to pay for Pace, pay for McRide, or whatever it may be. But I ask that you suspend your decision till you set up a committee, and let's look at it wisely and smartly. Thank you.
All right, next I have Jamie Ross. Rouse, excuse me.
It's all right.
Hi, Jamie Rouse, 2017 North Pebble Drive in unincorporated McHenry. I'm not going to talk just about the bus service. My thing that I want to talk about is how concerned I am by the attitude of the board that once they were elected, that whatever they decide is the will of the people. I've heard that before from dictators, oligarchs, whatever else you want to talk about. You ran on the status of helping us cut our taxes, not cut our services. Part of that is being fiscally responsible. I read an article this week where we spent $15,000 trying to defend having the township being demolished or taken out to get that referendum to stay on there, which ultimately was voted down by the people because we want to keep our road service. I also know that every time you guys held a meeting to talk about the budget and try to, nickel and dime us, whatever, cost the township an extra $1,200 because everyone in attendance had to be paid for that meeting. How many extra meetings did you have? I don't know. I guess we should look at the budget or the numbers. Which brings me to the budgets for when we get paid out the checks. The checks are made out to a lot of individual personal people with nothing in there that says why they were paid $100, $650, whatever it was. It's a lot of money when you start looking at it. And it goes back to the bus service. Nobody wants to see their services cut. They all want their taxes lowered. It's your job as trustees. We're trusting you to help us find the compromise between those. I urge you to reverse your decision, put back the bus service, and let's talk about some other options besides cutting that valuable service to some of our township residents. Thank you.
And next on my list, I have a Rhonda Sport.
Hello, I'm Rhonda Spore. I live at 4711 West Oakwood Drive here in Mchenry. One of the comments that was made as I was walking out was, "You all must be Democrats." This is not a Democrat or Republican problem. This is a people problem. I hope you remember this. This is a service that a lot of people need. They may be Republicans, they may be Democrats, they may be in the Tea Party. I don't care. This service should not be taken away from people that need this service. The McBride has said at the meeting that I was at that they cannot handle all these people that need this. They cannot handle all these wheelchairs in special room for the gas, for the air tanks. We should not be punished because you feel that $8 is going to be such a big amount to our budget. Find something else. You should have been able to vote on something like this. It hurts me that you feel that this is the way to save money by hurting your consistencies. Sorry, I have a little bit of a speech impediment. Please, respectfully, please reverse your decision. I know you want to do the right thing for McHenry, for the township. I think if you really thought this through, you would know that this is not the way to go about it. Thank you for your time, and I hope you do change. I'm begging you to please reverse your decision on this. Thank you.
I don't know what my problem is. Is there anybody else that hasn't signed up? Okay, please come to the podium.
Actually, I think I was on the list.
Oh, you were on the list. I skipped by you. I'm sorry. Mike Calmer.
Mike Dollar, 7511 Hickory Trail, Wonder Lake. My blood type is A positive. I'm an Aquarian. By the way, I think Mr. Melito will back me up on this. You cannot require that people give their addresses before their public comments. But anyways, I see that we have this item here on Jessup Manufacturing on the agenda today. I have nothing against Jessup Manufacturing, and I think that this might actually be kind of a beneficial thing, especially the additional jobs. But I just want to point out that when you give a tax abatement like that, as Mary Mahady has pointed out with the senior tax freezes and the exemptions for the veterans, you pass that on to the other taxpayers. So if you guys truly are your tax revolt, that's your top priority, you wouldn't vote for this today. Let's see what you do. Have a good one.
All right, is there anybody else yet?
Hi, my name is Jerry Ann Swag, 1823 Redwood Lane, McHenry. I'm here to support my mother, my sister, the neighbors, everyone in the Moose Lodge that comes here for bingo, everyone that uses the buses, everyone that uses the senior center, and all the townships. Bob Anderson, and all the people that support you, that are trying to eliminate the townships that you have all over your Facebook. It's not going to save us money by taking away the bus. You're manipulating the numbers, lying about the real cost, and what we're going to really lose. The township supplies so many benefits to everyone, including seniors, disabled, veterans, and people in need. The township assists people in finding ways for housing, food, medical care, and much more. The township has food pantry, takes care of public parks for all of us to use, supplies sandbags when flooding is happening, street sweeping and storm cleanup. And yes, township does plow our roads. The township has a senior center with loan assistance for medical supplies, the very needed senior disabled veteran bus, setting up weekly activities to be with other people, otherwise they would be at home, depressed. They have counseling, blood pressure checking, legal counseling, exercise, card games, computer education, and so much more. The township recycles, including batteries and styrofoam, touch a truck, brush pickup. They do mosquito spraying by hand, by backpack, by helicopters to get to the rural areas that you claim does not assist the people in the rural areas. The township has public parks, the township hall, recreational center, and community center for all of us to use. The Blue Star program for educational of the military, the sledding hill. Please keep the senior disabled veterans bus. Please help us. The VFW, the Moose Lodge, it will affect all of us. Don't be fooled. If they do take this away to save us the $8, to save us the $300 for the whole township, they will take the money somewhere else. It will not come back into our pockets. Make sure everyone that's watching this come to the meetings in Mchenry Township. It's 3703 North Richmond Road in Johnsburg, and it's right around the corner. Please hear us. We're trying to defend our right to these services available to all of us. And Bob and your people, you cannot take our tax money and put it into someone else that you want to do. You're supposed to be speaking for us, and we've made it very clear that we need this bus. We need it for our disabled, our veterans, our seniors. The three of you that voted against cancel this bus, you do not speak for the voters. You are speaking for your own personal gain, your own personal benefits. Please support the voters or step down.
Okay, anybody else at this time? Yes, sir. We'll give you a little bit of time because you have a problem ambulating theirs.
I'll get there.
Mr. Adams, if I could just ask this gentleman to knock off the cat calls already.
I'm sorry.
That's twice now. And remember, you were going to remove people like that.
I was talking to Mrs.
Mr. Condon, Mr. Condon, I hear you, and I will keep an eye on it.
I consider myself chastised.
Okay, fine.
Good evening. Sorry I'm late. We had a little family situation we had to take care of. Anyway, my name is Brian McCafferty. I live at 4820 East Wonder Lake Road in Wonder Lake. I also serve on the board of directors of the Indian Ridge subdivision. Indian Ridge contains approximately 400 households. At our last meeting, our board voted by unanimous vote to urge the Mchenry Township trustees to reconsider your vote to eliminate the senior bus service. And I have just one question for you trustees who voted to eliminate that bus service, which is vital to us. And that question is, what's the matter with you? Honestly, what is the matter with you? Instead of making life more difficult for our senior citizens and disabled residents, you should be thinking of ways to make life easier for them. Soften your heart towards them and show that you care. Vote again tonight to continue the senior bus program. Mr. Rakestraw, if the reports are true about your non-payment of your real estate taxes, you should have resigned immediately, tonight. For you to vote on any matter that comes before this tax-supported entity tonight is not acceptable. And it's not responsible. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Okay.
Hi, my name is Laura Oldenburg. I don't live here, but I have family who does. And it seems to me, after listening to all these people, you seem to be taking away something from people who can least afford to have that taken away from them. The rest of us have options. We have a lot of options available to us. We aren't challenged mentally, physically. We have money coming in every week because we're working. I have a mom who is retired, and she does have services available to her, which she uses quite often, and it makes her life so much more fulfilling. And I would hate to see the things that are so important to these people that need them the most, that can afford it the least, to have them taken away.
Anyone else at this time? Okay, none being heard, we're going to close public comment now. Okay, we're going to move on. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes. The first one we have is the review of the regular Mchenry Township Board meeting minutes held on June 13th.
No questions, I'll move to accept those minutes.
Okay, accept the, a motion by Mr. Anderson to accept the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Stanley Juski. Any discussion on that? Okay, none being heard. We'll take a roll call vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. None heard, those minutes pass. Next, we have the review of the budget and appropriation hearing minutes on June 13th for Mchenry Township. Again, do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Wojcicki to accept those minutes. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Raystrom. And is there any discussion on that? None being heard? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. None being heard? All ayes. The review budget and appropriation hearing on June 13th for the Mchenry Township Road District Permanent Hard Road Fund. May I have a motion to accept those?
I guess I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Wojcicki. I will second the motion. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? None being heard. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. None heard. All ayes. Next, we have the review of the budget and appropriation hearing for the Mchenry Township Road District held on June 13th. May I have a motion for approval of that? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? None being heard, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying nay. None heard, all ayes, motion passes. All right, going down the list. Review the continued budget and appropriation hearing on June 18th, 2019 for McHenry Township.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Wojcicki. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded
by Mr. Rickstrom. All those in favor?
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None being heard, all ayes. Minutes are approved. Okay, going down the list, review the continued budget and appropriation hearing held on June 18th for the Mchenry Road District Permanent Hard Road Fund. We need a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Anderson. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Wojcicki. All those in favor? I'm sorry, any discussion first? None being heard. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? They did. None being heard.
Would you please use the mic?
Let me try this mic, see if this is any. All right, I'll try to hold it, see if that works. All right, review of the continued budget and appropriation hearing on June 18th for the Mchenry Township Road District Permanent Hard Road Fund. I need a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Waitstrom.
Second.
Do you have a second, Don?
Yes, I second.
Okay, second. Any discussion? None being heard, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. None being heard, that is passed. The review of the continued, I want to make sure I got the right one now. The continued budget and appropriation hearing on June 18th for the Mchenry Township Road District. I'm sorry, for the McHenry Township Road District. Need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
I'm sorry, I think I made a mistake there.
We redid that.
I'm sorry, I'm going down to the last step. Review of the special Mchenry Township Board meeting held last month on June 18th.
Right.
That's the one we need to approve next. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Wojcicki. I'll second the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None being heard, minutes pass. Okay. We don't have to review any executive session minutes at this time. So I'm going to move down to the motion for approval of receipts and bills for the town fund.
I have that one. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 11th day of July, 2019, examined and audited the amounts due with the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, $182.76. Total bills to be approved, $60,000, $618.66. Total bills paid prior to audit, $37,628.86. Total be approved, $98,430.28. Total receipts, $13,417.13. So I move to accept the receipts and pay the bills.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the receipts and pay the bills of the town fund. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Rickstrom. Any discussion?
Yes. This refers to the bill from St. David Go Local.
Yes.
It's actually two bills, June 1st and July 1st, 2019. There's a separate charge on this for Facebook advertising. It's separate and apart from the management.
That was agreed to when we did business with them. And it's been there every month, Steve.
No, I'm questioning it now. What is it? What is the monthly advertising?
They advertise on Facebook. What is the charge of $50?
$50 each month.
Yeah, $50. That pushes the Facebook out so more people see it. That's why they do that. So it's seen by more of our constituents.
Is that somehow in a contract?
I believe it is. Or it's a verbal agreement we have with the rec. I can't tell you which one it is, but it's been going on since the beginning.
Maybe it's time that we looked at removing that.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of approving the bills and the receipts of the town fund, signify by saying aye.
Don't you need a roll call vote on that?
I do need a roll call vote on that, thank you. Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw.
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Mr. Veer.
Yes.
Okay, all yeses, motion is approved. Motion for approval of receipts of the bills for the general road and bridge fund.
We, the identified members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have on this 11th day of July 2019 examined and audited the amounts due for items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $55,648.77. Total bills paid prior to audit, $10,052.38. Total to be approved, $65,701.15. Total receipts, $40,968.95. And make a motion that we authorize the payments for this and pay the bills for the general road and bridge.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the receipts and pay the bills for the general road bridge fund. Do we have a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? No discussion being heard. I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Mr. Veer.
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Rakestraw.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, all yeses. Receipts will be accepted and the bills will be paid for the general road bridge fund. Okay, lastly, we have a motion for the approval of receipts and bills for the permanent hard road fund.
Permanent hard road. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $25,660.14. Total bills paid prior to audit, $16,543.12. Total to be approved, $42,203.26. Total receipts, $561.25. I make a motion to accept the receipts, pay the bills.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Wojciechowski to accept the receipts and pay the bills of the permanent hard road fund. I will second his motion. Is there any discussion? No discussion being heard. We'll have a roll call vote. Adams, yes. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Veer?
Yes.
Rakestraw?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
All yeses. Passes to pay the, accept the receipts and pay the bills for the permanent hard road fund. All right, gentlemen, move on to new business. First item on the agenda tonight is Jessup Manufacturing in Mchenry. Request for a real estate tax abatement and incentive agreement with by Mchenry Township and Permanent Hard Road District. I want to just say a couple words before we get going. I personally, in my previous career, dealt with Jessup Manufacturing. They're a very good company that contracts locally. When they subcontract out, they subcontracted with me at one point in time for Pioneer Center. Did a great job for a number of years with us there. They've been in business in McHenry since, I think, I might have the year wrong, 1956, about that. Is that about right? Yep. And I personally dealt with the owners over the years. It's still privately held, am I correct? Yes. So with that, I'm going to introduce Doug Martin from the city of McHenry and a representative from Jessup. Just say a few words about this. If you could come up to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. Supervisor Adams, Board of Trustees, thank you very much for having us. Doug Martin, Director of Economic Development with the City of McHenry. As you had stated, Supervisor Adams, Jessup Manufacturing has been in the community for over 60 years. They're a manufacturer of adhesive coated films since 1956, as you stated. One of their main competitors is 3M. They're proposing, their facility right now is approximately 50,000 square feet. They're proposing a 35,000 square foot addition at their place on East Route 120 in the city of McHenry. They're also considering locations in Lake County, Wisconsin, but they prefer to stay in the city of McHenry if they can do so. They're proposing a $6.3 million addition to their current facility. One of the extraordinary costs, if you will, is the extension of a water main. And this is about 700 feet, probably over 1,000 feet if you go the extent of their property, which is estimated to be $250,000 to over $300,000, which doesn't add to their ROI, if you will. But it's something that the water is just not there. It's on 120, but it stops. So they would have to extend the water main to bring water to their building. So that's a major cost. If they completed the addition to their building, the tax base right now is approximately $74,000. Their taxes would increase by about 250% to about $192,000. What we're trying to do to help incentivize them is approach each of the taxing districts through a program we have at the City of McHenry called the Underutilized Property Tax Abatement and Incentive Program, is freeze the taxes at the current level for 5 years and abate the increase for 5 years. And we're asking, requesting that each of the taxing bodies consider doing the same to help incentivize Jessup to expand in McHenry. I should also add, this will add jobs to their facility at least. Well, let me introduce Wes and let him speak to that a little bit.
Sure. My name is Wes Ferguson. I'm the Director of Finance for Jessup Manufacturing. As you said, we've been in McHenry since 1956, so 63 years. Family-owned, third generation at this point. As Doug said, we have 50,000 square feet, and we're looking to expand approximately 35,000 feet. One of the things that we are really looking at here is, through lack of foresight in years past, sewer main was put down along Route 120. No water main was. One of the things that we would need to do to build would be to, as Doug said, somewhere around 1,000 feet of water main to our facility at a cost of anywhere between $250,000 and $450,000, depending upon the route that we take. What we're looking at doing here is, a lot of this is for growth down the road, not just for us, but for any of the vacant land east of us. We're pretty much the last building on Route 120 when we're going east. So what we're really looking for here is adding to the tax base in the long run, and asking for assistance in helping us do that. As you know, we have been here for 63 years. Very active in the community. As part of our 60th anniversary, we developed a program called 60 Ways. And what we decided to do was contribute 60 Ways in a period of 5 years to different, the different community projects. Just a couple of the ones that we've done so far is around here. Actually, I think we've done 48 or 49 out of the 50, or out of the 60. So we're actually running a little bit ahead of where we said we're going to be. We've helped with Habitat for Humanity here. We partner with the high school district in their technical center. We helped out with printing of materials and ground graphics for Safety Town. We participated in a senior fall prevention program just this past summer, Bus Fest, and we also adopted a highway. So what we're looking at doing is we do have about 65 to 70 employees right now here in McHenry. What we're hoping to do on a conservative side is by adding 15 to 20 employees within the next 2 years. So again, we're not asking for any cash out of your pocket that you have right now. What we're asking for is you just hold off and wait a couple of years. and get your money back.
Okay, does the board have any questions for these two at this time?
What was that?
Is there any questions for either of these two gentlemen regarding this?
I have no questions of them.
Okay.
The water.
Yes.
Who pays for the water? Is your company gonna pay for that water extension? Or
We're gonna pay for the water main,
Okay. And, another question is.
but we won't own it when it's done.
Okay, all right. Because the town's gonna expand, so it's gonna benefit other people.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Another question is, this gonna fall on the taxpayers of this township and also the village of McHenry. And basically, this
Well, then
abatement.
we're not asking for you to contribute any funds.
No, what I'm saying, the abatement, the money is gonna get lost from McHenry Township and from the village of McHenry.
Well, you're not gonna be losing any money, you're just not gonna be receiving money for a couple of years.
Right, but what I'd like to know is what would be the percentage of.
You know what, gentlemen, I don't know that I thought this was in your packet, I have the numbers right here. For the township, it would be $97.40.
Yeah, so right
Yeah, that's
now-
all I need to know.
Okay, so right now we're paying approximately $2,500 between the two, between the township and the township road. Again, going up 150%, 250%, we're looking at $3,500 to $3,800 increase, which would be approximately $6,500 a year.
Hey, Stan, this affects every taxing body within the district here. It's not just the city of McHenry or the township. It's all the school districts, libraries, all the taxing districts involved.
But all within McHenry Township and the village of McHenry.
Well, it goes to Wonder Lake, it goes, I believe, right, everywhere.
Well, within the township.
No, it's for, well.
Any municipality,
Yes.
any library district, every fire district, they would be losing the money.
So,
Everybody would be losing income.
So if you look at the tax bill, and I've looked at the tax bill, so if you look at the tax bill, and any tax bill, you'll see a whole list of items. The county of McHenry, the college, the districts, the school districts, library, fire, township, the city. So all those taxing bodies that make up a tax bill are affected by it. What the tax abatement and the way my reading of the agreement is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that as it sits today, the $74,828.35 is locked in.
Correct.
You're talking about the increase in the value. So the amount that's going to the township, the $797.40, and the amount that's going to the road district of $1,686.07 is going to continue.
It's going to continue.
That amount's a continue. You're talking about the increased value piece.
Correct.
And that increased value piece is an anticipation piece, which then you provided saying, we anticipate that it may be $1,252 increase, and then $2,648 increase for the road district.
Correct.
So that at the end of that 5-year period, that quiet period, at that end of the 5-year period, that would have increased, and then at that point, it would kick in.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Mr. Bird?
So is this the first taxing body that's voting on it?
No.
So what had been the result?
The fire protection, Mchenry Township Fire Protection District voted, and they voted to approve it. We've been to many taxing bodies, many have not voted on it as of yet. There are several that are scheduled to vote on it that just haven't voted on it yet.
City of McHenry has not voted, right?
No, they'll vote Monday.
Does the county board vote on it?
Yes, they are going to vote on it. We went to the committee, the finance committee.
The addition is only 35,000 square feet, right?
Correct.
So why does the property tax go up over 100%?
Well, because right now we have a 50,000 square foot building that was built in stages between 1956 and 1996. So what we're doing now is we're adding 35,000 square foot all-encompassing building in the back and to the side of our property, which at this point is going to cost us about $4 million to build. And just looking at what the tax rate is and what the valuation is, And again, we're not adding the full $4 million, we're only including about $3 million, because again, there's gonna be a lot of site work, a lot of groundwork, and the water main that isn't gonna be included in the assessed valuation. One of the other things that I'd like to point out is that there is a safety factor, and if anybody's driven along 120 in the afternoon, every now and then there's trucks sitting out in front of our facility that could potentially be blocking traffic. What we're going to be doing as part of the safety and in this building is we're going to be moving the docks from the front of the building to the back of the building, which the trucks then would be able to enter, go straight to the back of the building. There would be a turnaround. So for safety reasons, there wouldn't be any blocking of the plant.
Why isn't the water main a cost to the city of McHenry?
Why is
Well, why isn't the city of McHenry picking up the cost to get the water main out to the facilities? Would that be to me, that would be a city of McHenry expenditure.
the city's helped in obtaining easements, we've helped, and it's just a very large cost.
But I would look at that as being a cost of the city of McHenry.
Mr. Anderson?
To get out to that district.
Mr. Adams, can I answer that real quick?
Reach out there.
1 second. Okay. Mr. Condon, because you have experience in this, I'll let you answer this question.
Mr. Anderson, it's a regular routine for any private entity. If you need a water main to your property or a sewer main to your property, you're the one who's responsible for paying for that. So this is a common practice. There's nothing new here. The city, unless they're doing looping of their system for some reason, they don't extend the water mains to facilities like this. It's a private entity who benefits from it that's required to do that.
No,
However, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Look at that to be expenditure of the business for a private entity. Yeah.
There's a couple of questions that I could ask also. Is this all right?
Yes, you may. You're recognized.
Is there going to be a recapture on this water main?
I would have to. No.
You hadn't asked for any recapture at this point.
What do you mean by
I guess we need an explanation what a recapture.
So recapture, if a private entity extends a public service like that, they can enter into a recapture agreement with municipalities. And what that recapture does is it will refund them funds to cover the cost of that extension beyond what they would need. For instance, if they had to upsize the water main. In this case, they probably only need an 8-inch water main, but they're extending a 12-inch water main. They'll be able to recapture those extra costs associated with that. So those are the kinds of things. They're not doing that here, is what our understanding is.
Right.
Okay. And one of Chris' questions, why I bring that up, is if you can recapture, maybe you don't need all those, all the abatement, but it sounds like they're not getting that recapture. The second thing that I'm not sure everybody understands is we're not losing tax dollars. What would happen if this were to go forward and we didn't get them the abatement? Your taxes would go down by the portion that they're paying, because we basically kept our levy flat. So we're collecting the same amount of money, but we just have a bigger pie of value to collect that from. And all we're asking here, or they're asking here, is to wait 5 years so they can cover these initial costs, and then we'll have that in your taxes. They'll be paying a larger portion of taxes, so you'll be paying a lower portion, the other entities. So I don't think that was very clear, because we're saying we're losing money. We're not losing money, because we're still collecting our levy. What would happen if they were to jump in right away is you would pay less. Taxpayers would, all the other taxpayers would pay less, because the pie of people paying in would be greater. So, thank you.
Well, there is a loss.
Oh, hold on. Who wants to be recognized? Was that Mike? Mike, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
I think that you are really missing out in trying to do what Jim said and get a recapture agreement. And here's the reason why I say this. You've got 2 schools that are just down the road, I believe, that are not on city water. Is that correct?
No, not in this location.
This is 120. You know,
Yeah.
there's no schools there.
East of town.
East of town, not west.
East of
What do you got, Hilltop and the junior
No, that's,
high?
that's Lincoln Road.
That's on Lincoln Road.
Yeah,
That's
but you,
there's
they
a
both
river-
have water.
They already have water there.
They have water.
Yep.
But Hilltop doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It does have water?
It
How
does.
come, how is it that you don't have the ability to tie into their water?
They're on 120.
They're miles away.
No,
A mile away at least or something.
Maybe I'm just mixed up with the name of the school. There's a school on Lincoln Park, on Lincoln Road.
Correct. It's Hilltop, you're correct.
Yeah.
But they're quite a distance from Jessup Manufacturing. It's
And
cheaper.
there is water to that school?
Yes, there is.
How does it get there?
It's, if I can add that real quick, because
Well, no, it's a simple question.
Gets there through.
Yes.
it was run up Lincoln Road years ago. It was extended all the way out to Duke, or to the new junior high out there. The water main that they're extending, the water main that they're extending is being extended from where the Enterprise Auto or what is the car dealership? It's being extended from Auto Villa to their property, just that short stretch. It's not going any long distance. Well, it's long in your mind, but in reality, it's not that far.
We're actually extending it to the east side of our property.
Which is a
Common practice.
So, I'll get back to this again. There's a lot of businesses that are on 120. Why wouldn't you want an agreement whereby you could recoup some of your costs for people who want to get on city water who aren't presently on it? Since you're building it up to your business.
And right now, I believe we're helping as well as the city in obtaining all of the easements and paying for the easements.
We've been trying to work with the businesses to get easements, to get the water main, if it were to be extended to Jessup, because it has to be extended on private property. So we need easements, so we need them. We need the right to put the water main on their property.
Okay, but what about the businesses that are past Jessup that might want to tie into the city of McHenry's water line because it's available?
East of?
East of
Yeah,
your
right now,
business.
there are no businesses east yet. There's pretty much vacant farmland that goes all the way to Chapel Hill Road.
But what about the other side of the road? There's a lot of businesses.
The other side of the road has water.
The other side of the road, there's water behind the businesses. It's kind of a goofy situation.
So is that one that came in on Lincoln Road?
It would cost us more to try to tap in from the north side of 120 because we would have to go across the highway.
Mr. Abrams, if I could help him answer that. What the result is that they're only going to be able to recapture so much for their extension. There's not that many services, not many people to the east that would actually help to recoup the costs that they're putting in here. And they'll spend more fees on legal fees and things like that than they would ever recoup. So, on top of that, there's a risk with it because those recapture agreements have a short, limited lifetime to them, a limited life. So, they probably figured out between them and the city that it's probably more effort than it's worth for the amount that they would get.
And Mr. Anderson, do you have another question?
Well, I was just saying, you said there's not a loss, so when would you think that building would be the addition be completed? How many years?
We believe the building would take probably 10 to 12 months to.
Okay, so then actually we'd be losing tax money, say, of 4 years.
Again, we're not going to be taking any.
Building, what's your bill say,
You're
10
losing-
months?
You're losing increased revenue, not current revenue.
At that time.
We would be paying the same amount of tax that we're currently paying right now for a period of 5 years.
Well, no, if you put that addition on, it's gonna increase the assessed value of your property, that means that you'll be paying more taxes on that.
That's what we're asking for.
That's-
so that we would
Well, I
continue
know
to
you're
pay.
asking for that, but, in other words, if we voted to accept this, there's a loss there to us. What we're saying is, what Jim is saying is we gotta wait 5 years to recapture some of that money on there.
Well,
And then I also,
the loss for all 5 years, if that's what you're talking about, is $6,263.75. I think the jobs they're creating would offset that in the community, so that's just my opinion. So.
well, I understand your position.
Could I ask another question?
Yes, you may.
How many employees do you have?
We have between 65 and 70 right now. I don't have an exact.
And what will your number of employees be if this?
What we're looking at within the next 2 to 3 years, 15 to 20 employees. Just within the past year, so we have 2 locations. We have one here in Mchenry. We already have another one in Lake County. Mchenry is our corporate headquarters, or we have a coding facility in Lake County. So we have about 25 employees over in Lake County. We have a couple of salespeople that live throughout the country, and we have 100 total employees. So we have approximately 70 employees right now, 65 or 70 employees sitting here in Mchenry. We're looking at, like I said, about 15 people to 20 people within the next 2 years. Again, a lot of this is dependent upon our growth as well as our ability to bring in additional fixed assets and equipment. So what we're looking at is the building cost is going to be just over $4 million. We're also looking at approximately $2 million in capital equipment additions over the next 2 years. And that would bring in more skilled labor. So we're working with the college, we're working with the high school, we're trying to partner with as many people as we can to help supply jobs for the city, the township, everybody.
And then if we approve this, then what are other people who are paying their taxes, other people who put additions on, that went ahead and paid their tax? This puts us kind of a bind that I have a hard time thinking I'm going to support this, because who comes next after you guys? And that water main, I don't think is any, to me, any part of my discussion, or making my decision here, because I think that's a cost of doing business, putting that addition on. But I'm thinking about all the people that have been paying their taxes right along, and so now you come to taxi bodies and say you want this. What about the rest of the people paying right along too? I have a hard time going along with this.
Can I answer that?
Yes, you may, Mr. Conlon.
Bob, what it is an incentive to keep them here. They're going to expand here or somewhere else, and so we're going to keep. The taxpayers are going to keep on paying the same taxes. What this is a benefit for them to make a decision to stay here. If this doesn't go through, there's a good likelihood that they would relocate somewhere else, and as a result, then we would never have the opportunity to get those taxes in the future that they would pay, which would benefit the rest of the taxpayers. So we're taking a short-term staying level with taxes for that long-term gain. It's an incentive of them to keep them here. And it's common, it's done regularly. It's not something that's unusual by any means.
I never liked it. But let me ask you a question. Will you leave if you don't get the abatement?
We are looking at other properties, yes.
But will you plan to leave if you don't get the abatement?
Our desire is to stay here. We are looking at other properties. We have another facility in Lake County, which would make more sense
Is
to
there a
move
decision
to.
made that you're leaving if you don't get the abatement?
It will factor into our decision, yes.
Was it, may I understand?
Yes, you may.
Is that the entire operation or just the addition?
Excuse me? No, the entire operation in Mchenry. It doesn't make sense to have 3 facilities.
And also the one in Lake County?
We have one in Lake County, correct, and
So if it doesn't go through, you may very well go to Wisconsin, is that what you're saying?
or Lake County.
The whole kit and caboodle?
No, we would maintain the Lake County facility.
All right. So does every taxing body, and how many of them are there that have to approve it?
Well, there's 9 on the tax bill.
So does every single one of them have to approve?
Yes.
As
far as I know, they do.
Well,
each one
I don't
individually.
If that's the case.
It's not a requirement. I mean, I don't know what justice.
so actually Mchenry Township is the smallest.
Can I just show you exactly what we're looking at here? So, right now, this is our facility front door. These are the projects that we've been working on. In Lake Bluff, we had a facility that kind of looked like this. It was underutilized. We were leasing it out to someone else. And then this is what our building looked like back in 2016. What we've done is, you can see, we've built a 30,000 square foot addition, which is pretty much what we want to do here. And we've joined it, and everything looks beautiful.
right, compared to what it looks like, or looked like before. Not sure what's next. You know, again, right now the Village of Green Oaks, which is where our other facility is, actually uses our building as a selling point for other businesses. So it is an incentive, you know, not just for us, but for everybody. And I wasn't sure how many copies I needed to bring, so I made 7 copies. I miscounted, so if you'd like to pass those out, feel free. Sure.
Gentlemen, I'd like to just chime in here. My opinion is I think it's good for the community. It creates jobs here. It keeps people in Illinois. It helps them buy houses here. It helps them pay taxes here. If there's jobs here, they may stay. But I would, this is just my feeling, I'm going to throw that out here. The problem with some of these tax abatements have been, Motorola was one of them over there in Harvard, is I would ask that our attorney look into just a couple caveats if we approve this. One, and I don't think Jessup would be opposed to this.
One, that the project be completed as specified. The company must remain in business at that same location for 5 years. If they do not, they'd have to retroactively pay back this money. And that they cannot transfer ownership of this company to someone else within this 5-year period, or it would also be revoked. That's an incentive to keep them here so they don't leave after this period of time. That's my thought. Just throwing that out there.
Then with that being said, I think we should table the decision tonight and have some discussion, wait for a reply from the attorney.
All right, I could go on with that. We'll have Mr. Motel look into my, Jessup, do you have any comments on that? There would just be some minor caveats, and I'm pretty sure you're going to stay in business here, so.
You know, I would really love to. Like I said, we're 3rd generation. Right now, Rob Jessup's kids are, I think, still in high school and college, so I don't think we're going to be transferring ownership to them anytime soon.
Well, if it stays in the family, I wouldn't have an issue. I'm saying if it was transferred to another.
Family-owned business, started in a 2-car garage right around where we live. So.
Okay,
Just
go ahead,
one
Mr.
more.
Baird.
This is really directed to the representative from the city. As far as the number of employees, how does Jessup rank? They're in the top 10.
In McHenry?
In the city of McHenry.
I wouldn't think so.
No, probably not.
You got Northwestern.
I mean, we've got a lot of companies. Doesn't diminish their value.
So how many other ones are in the room to do the exact same thing with the abatement?
Well, we've had this program since 2014, and this is our 2nd application.
What happened to the first one?
The first one was it was in Nunda Township, so 9 taxing bodies approved it. It wasn't exactly the same situation. It was a building instead of an addition. It was purchasing an adjacent building to expand, and the owner ended up purchasing the adjacent building to expand and stayed in the city and continues to be in the city today.
Okay, we've had a suggestion to, okay, Mr. Richard.
You made a very conclusive statement that why would you have 2 or 3 different locations? My question would be, why wouldn't you want to bring in the 20 employees that are in Lake County and bring them here as long as you're making this addition?
Because we just did a 30,000 square foot addition over there 4 years ago. And our coating facility is over there, and we have EPA permits to operate over there. I don't think we'd be able to do that over here.
Did you get a tax abatement there?
No, our taxes only went up 75%, not 150. due to the valuation of the existing building.
And that's
And by the way, the taxes over there went up approximately $60,000, not 117.
As of 2018, McHenry, the county of McHenry was the 17th highest tax county in the United States, much higher than Cook and higher than Lake. It's the most tax, it's the highest tax county in the state and the 17th highest in the nation. So there is quite a differential. I understand. I can appreciate that between Lake and McHenry counties.
So, as if I can just further expand on that, we had to put together a but-for statement, which means that if it wasn't for the help, we would end up having to leave because of something. So the but-for statement, when we were looking at it, the real estate taxes are anywhere from 64 cents a foot to $1.28 a foot more here in our existing facility or the addition compared to what we're currently paying in Lake County, other buildings in Lake County, and Kenosha.
Disgusting number.
It is disgusting.
Very disgusting.
I mean, trust me, I wish I wasn't here doing this, but again, we're just asking for a little bit of help for the next couple of years. Not asking to take any money out of anybody's pocket. You'll be getting that in a period of time.
Mary, go ahead.
So just because you're adding $3 to $4 million in value doesn't mean your assessed value will go up that much.
Correct.
I know, but so what they're asking for, and I'm trying to simplify this a little bit, if you, as a homeowner, if you add 500 square foot addition, you get a home improvement exemption. And you don't pay on that portion, that added value for 4 years. That doesn't typically happen in a commercial property, but in this case, that's basically what they're asking. They'd still be paying the $74,000 where it's at right now. And I guess I would just say, I don't know what the assessment would be. The property was appealed last year based on an appraisal. So it's at market value at this point. Generally, economy of scale, just because you add, your cost per square foot goes down. So we're talking about a big increase that we really don't know what that would be, but when the addition is done, again, it sounds like they're just asking to, they're still paying a significant amount of money, but that they, on the addition, to delay the payment of that assessment would still be on there, and then in the 5th year they would be paying based on that. And even at that point, if they don't think that the assessment is correct, they can always appeal it.
Well, actually, I'm going to correct you on that one, because I believe the agreement with the city or with the county says that we wouldn't be able to appeal for several years after that.
Which you would not?
That we would not. So, again, thank you for pointing out the fact that everybody else here who would do it to in addition automatically gets the abatement.
On a home, owner-occupied home, not typically for commercial, but again, it's the same premise. Homeowners don't typically extend water lines to their property, so that's a difference as well.
Okay, and Mr. Edstrom.
Could we get an authority's opinion about whether the board should do this from Mary Mahady, who should be qualified above all the rest of us, whether to do this or not?
It's not her decision.
No, that's, but we can ask for an expert opinion.
I don't want to answer that, Mr. Rumpel.
It's within the decision of this board whether to approve or not approve the agreement. You certainly can ask Ms. Mahady as far as what that financial impact would be from an assessment standpoint at a current snapshot right today, as well as a snapshot 5 years from now, what that would look like from a financial standpoint. As to the decision whether to do it or not do it, that's your decision.
I completely agree, and all I'm asking for is an opinion.
Okay, I'm sure Mary would be happy to give her.
Well, as I tell,
Taxing opinion on it.
basically what I tell everyone is, you can tell me what you're going to build, but we don't place an assessment on it until it's built. So plans change. Once it's completed, we have to compare it with other commercial properties. Commercial properties are not like homes. They don't appreciate in value in the same rate, and tend to level off. And we have a lot of vacant commercial properties that pay less because they're vacant. So having a viable commercial property is important, because expanding the commercial tax base, again, reduces the taxes for everyone. But as far as, I mean, I don't have that information in front of me as far as even what it's assessed at right now, but again, it's a matter of market value, and even if whatever they spend does not necessarily equate to market value. What would that building be worth if they were going to sell it to another similar property? I don't know what that would look like next week, much less 5 years from now. So it's just it's difficult to put a value on it. The market changes significantly. It's a type of building that would be, there aren't a lot of people looking for that, but if they were going to sell it, it'd be almost at least a statewide or maybe nationwide.
Right, and right now, because we are on a well, we aren't sprinkled there. So this will also allow us to be able to sprinkle the existing building. Fire department really like that. We do adhere to certain space limitations with fire doors between, everything is compartmentalized. But I'm not including that in the EAV as well. So to me, that's just a sunk cost that, we're not going to probably not pay taxes on. It's just going to be lost. Going along with what everything you said, the building right now we're looking at approximately $4 million, and I used $3 million as an increase in the EAV. I used 75%. From that, then I took the 1/3. So that's where I'm coming up with the $1.1 million addition.
And it could be less. So we don't know that. He's going at the high end, basically.
Well, it could be more.
I'm an accountant. I'm conservative by nature, so.
Okay, gentlemen, I did hear earlier that maybe we could ask Mr. Miltel to look in a few caveats to make sure that they stay there and that they honor their agreement, which I believe they would, that we could put in a contract to do this. Is everybody willing to take a look at that and table this to our next meeting?
I think that's it. I'm for that.
Okay, Bob, do you make that motion, Bob?
I'll make that a motion that we table it.
Okay.
Have Mr. Patel look into that.
Okay. I will second that motion. Any discussion?
Can I ask a question?
You may. Can I see if the applicant would be open to
Yes.
modification? Because if you're not open, if it's a take it or leave it deal, then that's not what you would do.
We're open. The only thing is we kind of need to make a decision relatively quickly as to what we're going to be doing, especially if we want to have this building, this construction begin. Because the last thing we want to do is start construction and
That's right. I understand that. So this would only put you back up, not that long, 30 days possibly. So I would ask that we have a first and a second to the motion. We vote just to table it until the next meeting. And Mr. Miltel can work with Jessup in the meantime, and hopefully we can come to an agreement. Can we take a roll call vote on that? Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rickstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
Mr. Beard?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll table it till the next board meeting, which is the second Thursday of next month. Okay. Thank you for your presentation, and don't feel you have to stay. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, the next item on our agenda is the Fox Waterway has a request for a watershed development plan and asking for dollars for us. I'm going to start this out and say that they made contact with me. They just sent me this letter. They didn't tell me what they're doing, and I don't understand it, and I would think, I'm not an expert, but I think the county has a watershed plan in planning and development, so I'm opening this for discussion. They're doing it by population. They're requesting $5,023.76 for us for some watershed study that they're going to create. And I will go on the record saying that without more information, I am not in favor of this.
I'm the same way.
And
I don't know anything enough about it to even make a comment on it.
This was just dropped in our laps.
it was just,
Dropped in my lap.
I just wanted to give it to the board because it was sent to me. I guess the right thing to do would be I'll contact the Fox Waterway Agency and ask them if there's any more information regarding this.
Now, that $5,000, is that like a yearly thing? Is it?
I took
It
it.
sounds like it's a yearly dues here is what.
Well, you're absolutely right. I'm not sure. So let us go back and let me go back and get more information from them. And then let me also talk to the county. I believe the county does have a watershed. I could be mistaken, but let me check. And so then I would be concerned about duplication here, I guess. So, with that being said, any further discussion here on that? If there isn't, I would make a motion that we also table this till the next meeting until I get more information.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have the first and second. Roll call vote, Anderson.
Yes.
Rakestraw.
Yes.
Adams, yes. Mr. Wojcicki.
Yes.
Mr. Reard.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda, you asked for this, gentleman, I think Mr. Reard did. Resolution, the township may not enter into a contract without the board's approval. Discussion of possible action. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Militaro at this point in time.
You've asked me to take a look at this. I'm still looking at it. I don't have anything definitive. I do have, and I have looked at the statutes relative to the township board authority, the supervisor authority, their duties, and also there's a bidding statute requirement relative to the township and any purchases specifically. There is specific language in the statute relative to the township entering into contracts and the township board specifically regarding certain items. And those duties of the supervisor and some conflicting issues should, in the event that you adopt an ordinance, that's a blanket ordinance. I'm not prepared to present an ordinance tonight or a resolution to the board. I've got 3-4 different statutes that I'm looking at. I don't have anything definitive to discuss tonight other than the fact that you may have situations where the township board can and is appropriately adopting contracts pursuant to the 60 ILCS 1/85-13, which specifically outlines the various provisions in which the township can enter into contracts. And it specifically talks about the township board. And then there's the bidding requirements where there's anything, whether it's services, merchandise, anything that's being purchased, where it exceeds $20,000 in cost, there's the requirement for the bidding process, but also the fact that it requires the township to enter into a contract, and that's a formal action by the township board. There's also a section within the statute that talks about a supervisor. Now, when I looked at the agenda item, it talks about the resolution that the township may not enter into contracts without the board's approval. The township, you are the township board, and those activities that are within the statute are also activities that you can act upon, as well as the supervisor as the officer of the township. There's certain duties that you are required to comply with, and if you don't comply with those, you'd be subject to penalty and negligence by not following those provisions. So you have to be careful not to broadly limit the township's activities by just passing a blanket ordinances, and I guess that's my point. So I'd like a little more time, if I can, to bring that back to the board and talk about what specifically, if anything, you want to put in that, or if you're still looking for a blanket ordinance. If it's a blanket ordinance, I would caution the board that I'm not sure that you can limit statutory authority by a township board action. So I just asked that we look at specifically, if there's something specific, we'd want to identify it and spell it out in that ordinance. So I guess to the point is, I'd like to bring it back at the next meeting, and if there's specific pieces that the township board would like to see incorporated, we could certainly put that in there. My only caveat is I don't know that you as a board want to restrict yourselves, because section, and I just cited 85-13, it is talking about you as the township board and all ordinary and necessary maintenance and operating expenses and those things that you guys can spend your money on. So I don't want you to tie your hands if you don't necessarily need to tie your hands.
Well, if I may.
You may, Mr.
The problem is that I'm tired of these multi-year contracts that we're entering into that ties the board's hands by another board, like this mosquito abatement matter. Okay. There was a 4-year, 5-year?
Actually, Mr. Bear, I just looked at that contract. It was a 4-year contract, but it was only 2 years, and we have to, for next year, we're gonna have to renew it or not renew it. So it will be up for bid again next year. But it was a 4-year agreement that if we took the renewal in the next 2 years, it would be the same price. But it's not, we're not locked in. It's only, we're locked in this year, but we're not locked in for the next 2 years. We have to do a renewal if we want to, or rebid it. So
it's quite contrary to what we were told.
I thought it was a 4-year agreement. I went and looked at the contract, and it's a 2-year agreement with 2 years to renew, with 2 renewal years. So that's what's in the contract. So come next year, we're going to be looking at it anyway. So.
But to the point on that, if you have a mosquito abatement contract, that agreement should go to the board as far as discussion as to whether you're going to pass it or not pass it.
Well, the renewal.
Correct, the renewal coming up.
Well, how many other multi-year contracts are there?
I don't.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to get a handle on it.
Other than maybe copier contracts, things like that, I don't believe there's any, Steve.
The mosquito abatement one must be the largest one by far that we're locked into, or is that? Or that's 40 something?
It's $63,000, I believe.
Or 64,000.
Or 64,000. Could be 64, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I don't want to comment on that. I don't know that it's the largest, but it's one of the largest, put it that way.
I do know that the contract for the copier, I was here at that meeting, and that was, again, a board decision.
That was a board decision.
Contracts such as that, again, that should be to the board, and it's a board decision.
Well, since we're on new business, then I would also ask for the next meeting, a resolution that the township put online all the contracts that the township has entered into. So, a resolution for discussion and possible action for the next meeting.
Okay.
So that, as a matter of transparency, all these things are available to any taxpayer who wants to look at it. Or others.
Well, I'd like to clarify that. It's currently available now if they want to come in and FOIA it, or they can ask for it. But we will make it more transparent. I don't have a problem with that. So,
it's the problem of trying to FOIA something you don't know it even exists. Okay.
Well, they can come in and look at anything they want. That's what I'm telling you. But in any case, does anybody else agree with Mr. Vera on that? I only heard from Mr. Vera on that. I didn't hear from anybody else, and they say that they want that done.
What are we saying here exactly?
Mr. Vera?
What do you want?
A resolution that all contracts by the board will be posted online. Okay.
I'll go with that.
Okay, we have two going with that. And Mr. Richards going, okay, we'll be on the next agenda. All right. Moving down the agenda. A report and discussion on a possible marijuana farm being constructed in the Pistaki Highlands area. Mr. Milton was going to look into that. We heard about this at our last meeting.
Thank you. Can I just go back 1 second?
Yes.
The piece, just keep in mind, you may have, and I understand the transparency piece, again, this is kind of the point on the other part, is that you may have agreements, whether it's with NICO or ComEd.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to qualify the agreements.
Me putting my legal hat on, when as soon as you say contract, I'm thinking of everything you got out there, whether it's your phone bill or your TT. Not saying that you can't do it, I'm just saying that it might be very cumbersome to do it. So you may want to set some guidelines up as far as what that might look like. Agreements over $10,000, $5,000, or some monetary amount of what that might be. So it's just a note. That's all. As to the second one, talked to Mary Mahaney. She evidently had gone out there immediately after our previous meeting and actually met with the owner themselves. I actually talked about what she said, and I'll let her tell you what she said. But I also looked at the maps. Athena has nice maps. Looking at the various maps as far as the time period from the previous years to where it's gone to now. There was some allegations or some discussions regarding some possible shooting towers. If you look at the maps, and when I look at them, as the property cleared off, as the aerial maps had changed, you could see that it was being cut down. There were some previous hunting towers that were in there for whether it was deer hunting or whatever it was. That was back in the back. As those areas were cleared apart, you could actually then see them. The actual property was being used for an agricultural hemp farm. I did check and research as far as where that state of Illinois is in on that, and we've now adopted and approved hemp licensing within the state of Illinois. They do require that those applicants pay a fee, so those farmers are actually paying a fee for the processing. I believe it's $100 or $375 for that application process, which is different than the rest of the farming, but that is a process that they're doing. Mary actually visited the property, and Mary, you could probably comment on that.
Okay, so they have about 60 acres out there, and in the last 3 years they've started to clear the land to get involved in this. But and I can clarify, it's a hemp farm. It's not marijuana. There is a difference. They have already planted. There's about 15 acres cleared. They don't have quite that much planted yet, but that's already well underway. And as Jim said, the watchtower is an old hunting tower. It's a heavily wooded property that they hunted on. So it's no different than any other farm property. If you are growing a crop, you get a farm assessment on the portion that's in the farm. And we have no authority to tell them they can or they can't. They get a license from the state to do it, and they don't need anyone's approval other than the state to get the license, and then they go ahead. I will tell you, I did, in talking to the owner though, it's not the best soil there, and it seems to be a difficult crop to grow. So I think he's going to see how it goes. That's kind of what he said. But it's all legal. It's not going away. It's going to be there. It could be corn, but it happens to be hemp. So they're going to get an exemption on it.
And just to make it clear, we have no jurisdiction over this. So. Okay, unless there's anything else on that. Any other discussion on that? Okay. We're going to move on then to the discussion. Mr. Anderson has to discuss removal or change of the second opportunity for public comment on the agenda for all future township meetings.
And from my end of it, I think we should go down to one. I think we should have, I got a couple of, I think I brought it up the last time I brought that up, but I got a couple of agendas, one from Harrison School, which public comment is number 8 on our list. I've got one from Mchenry County Finance and Audit. The public comment is number 3. So I believe that we should go down to one public comment, and I think it should be somewhere up in the top half of the front part of our agendas.
All right, I'd like to discuss that. You've talked about 2 agendas. I didn't bring one, but Mr. Doug is gone. The city of McHenry, and I think Mary can comment on this better than I can, they allow for comment after each item and after the board has discussed it, so it gives people an opportunity to talk about that item. I kind of like that. It doesn't put all your public comment at one time, it just puts it for that item. That's my 2 cents, and that gives people the opportunity to talk about the item that they're concerned about. If you put it at the beginning or the end, a lot of things get lost, I think. So that's my comment. Mary, could you talk about how you went to a city McHenry, you know how that works?
When they're ready to discuss a certain topic, you get to hear what the council members, what their opinions are. They ask questions of the people, you know, if it's like tonight, they would have asked the questions of the gentleman from Jessup and found out what, you know, any questions that they had in regard to making that decision. And then the public is invited to make comments based on what the council members, what they've heard. So you also get the opportunity to know where the people voting, making the decisions, where they stand. So a lot of time, when you have public comment, people are telling you how they feel, but they do not know what the board members would be, what their stand would be. So it gives a little more direct input for the public on a specific topic. And it probably also allows for people who want to leave after their topic has been discussed, that they don't have to wait. But it just seemed to flow a little better. Everything, all the comments around a particular issue were done at one time.
Okay, thank you, Mary. That's just a suggestion I have. We're talking about transparency, putting things online, doing this and that. Why wouldn't we be more transparent and fine-tune how we do our public comment? Any further discussion?
Yes, if I may, Mr.
Yes, you may, Mr. Bear.
The statute requires one, that's it.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a
Yes.
motion and get a second, then we're going for discussion?
Yes, we can, I'm sorry.
So can I make a motion that we will make a change of how public comment is done for the Mchenry Township Board?
I need you to clarify that motion. That doesn't tell me anything.
Then my motion, well, I want to open up for discussion. I've already heard your comments. We already.
So you want to open up for discussion to possibly change the public comment?
That's what I like to do, because we've already got comments from you and from
Okay,
Mary.
that's fine. Now do we have a second? I'll second that. I'll be happy to second that. Okay, now let's move on to discussion. Mr. Bird.
The statute requires one.
It may, but
Most public organs can do it one.
we can go above the statute. I don't see what's wrong with that. It's my
We
thing.
could have 52,
We
for
could.
that matter, all right?
We
So-
could, but I'm not asking for that, Steve. I'm asking after each major agenda item that they could speak, that's all.
What about the time element?
The time element would be the same, run it to 3 minutes.
Well, where did that come from?
That came from previous boards, I believe.
From where?
So the actual duration is subject to change too.
The duration is subject to change, yes.
What did you say, the 3 minutes?
I believe it came from previous boards way before my time. It's just been standing there.
I mean, that's pretty standard.
It's pretty standard. You want to cut the 2 seconds?
I
I
would
think that's
think-
good.
I would think they would, well, that's, you know, if you get to that part of, when you have 25, 30 people that we've had here, then I think it would be appropriate to cut it down to 2 minutes. But,
I don't think you could.
I know boards that will do that too.
I don't think if an item is hot, or the public want to express their opinion, want to cut their time on, I don't think that's right. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
So does anybody want to make a motion to do something?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we have one public comment, and I'd go along with Mchenry County Finance and Audit, their agenda, where public comment comes on number 3 of their agenda.
All right, Mr. Anderson.
One of the things about that too, if I could say right up there are times, and it's happened to me that we work in schedule, what have you, that a public comment is at they have the agenda, you have a chance to make your public comment and still get to work. And there are some people that can abide by that. So I think there's some value there with having it higher up in the, on your agenda.
Okay. So I want to make sure I understand your motion. Your motion is to change the public comment to the third item on our agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Which I can figure out. We can do it after we approve the minutes, I guess. And to only have one, is that correct?
One.
To have one public comment.
One public comment.
Okay. We have a motion from Mr. Anderson to move the public comment to the third item on our agenda, similar to the County Finance Committee, and to only have one public comment. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Beard. Any further discussion? I disagree with this gentleman. I think it's lacking in transparency is what you ran on. All right, let's take any other discussion. Let's take the roll call vote. Anderson.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Bob has started probably 4 times. We need to move this around.
You know what? I'm the chairman. I'll run any I want. Bob? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rickshaw?
No.
Mr. Adams? No. Mr. Wojcicki?
No.
No. Mr. Beard?
Yes.
Okay, motion fails. Let's continue to have 2 public comments. With that, I don't believe we have any old business to discuss. Do we have any that anyone wants to revisit at this time?
What was that?
We have no old business that I'm aware of right now?
Yes.
Okay. What would that be, Mr. Britt?
If the township attorney is preparing memos for the supervisor, I think you should be sending that to all the trustees in the future.
So noted.
Well, are we gonna get some kind of, you'll be doing that from now on? Or do we have to have a resolution for it?
If the board would like me to send memos out, include all the board members on those emails to the supervisor, I'd be more than happy to do that if that's what's desired.
I guess we would need to have a motion on that, see if that's what the entire board wants to do.
All right, so to recap it, so that everybody can understand, when the village attorney prepares a legal memo for the supervisor, that the same memo be distributed to the trustees, to all the trustees on the board.
And you're making that motion, Mr. Britt?
Yes, and the attorney has said he'll be happy to do that.
Well, the board hasn't agreed to that yet, but the attorney may be happy to do it. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. Any further discussion on that?
I don't understand.
Sometimes Mr. Militello, I ask him for opinion on various things, and that doesn't necessarily come before the board.
Well, this is like private matters between the...
No. It's not private matters, it's township matters, but it's public matters.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
If I may, it may be across from a question on something regarding the track and field. It may be a question regarding the rental of one of the units, or one of the pieces of property, or something, something that's out of the ordinary, as well as any memo that goes along the way. So it can be various items.
Well, it wouldn't be that hard to do that. You just add it to your...
No, he could certainly do it. I just want to make sure that all the boards are agreeing with this. Any further? Okay, now I'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Beard?
Yes.
Mr. Rickshaw? All right, Mr. Rickshaw, yeah.
Wait, I don't know how I want to.
Okay, I'll go by you for now. Mr. Adams? I'll go on, I'm not sure. Yes. Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Okay. We don't. Okay. So we have all yeses. No problem. It won't happen in the future. All right. Any other old business? Okay. Any proposed agenda items for next monthly meeting?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
Could we look into we're getting an update on the parks and facility conversation we've had in the past.
That's been an executive session, Mr. Anderson, and
Can we get that in executive session?
we can. I can let you know right here. I'm working on it, and there's nothing further to report right now, but there will be shortly.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, that's it.
All right. Sir, it's not time anyway. There's going to be another session here. I'm going to move on to my supervisor's report. The report is there in your packet as well. Really have nothing else to report at this time. We're finishing the audit. We should have that by next month. I can give you that information.
I have a question.
Sure.
Has the Mchenry Township contacted all the relevant granting authorities of the termination of the Mchenry Township Senior Bus Program? Is that taken care of?
You asked Mr. Milton to do that, so I don't know if
That was part of the motion.
It will be done, it has not been done yet, but it will be done.
Okay, will we be notified when it's done?
I will in fact notify all board members of the notification.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no questions for me, we can move on to the assessor's report. Mary?
We continue to work on our 2019 assessments. We're shooting to have them in by the end of this month, which means be 3 to 4 weeks after that before assessment notices go out. This is a quadrennial, which means that every 4 years we have to look at every property, and so there may be some significant increases in some properties that just to reflect the big difference in the way sale prices have been going. So there probably will be more overall increase across the entire township. I do still have some state appeals coming up in 2 weeks. I have another couple of state appeals. They're called PTAB appeals from 2015 and 2016, so they're still a little behind. But that's about all we have left from those years. And then just one other properties that are, we talked tonight about the Jessup property. It's not a tax exempt property, but there are properties that do file for tax exemption, so they don't have to pay. Most of those are not-for-profit social service groups, 501(c)(3). The property on 903 Front Street, which is the Habitat for Humanity Restore, they did purchase that property and they have applied for exempt status. So that is coming before the Board of Review in the county in the first week in August. They did buy the property for $875,000. Their 2018 tax bill was about $35,600. And my guess is that will be given exempt status, so that property will be taken off the tax rolls. I have no guarantee, but that's probably what's going to happen. And it's not up to the Board of Review at the county level. They just make a recommendation. The final decision is up to the property Department of Revenue. So just giving you a heads up on a property that's going to most likely be removed from the tax rolls. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
They've been operating there for quite a while and never paying taxes on it.
They were renting it from Elkoff Industries until last year, right? Until
Okay, so the only thing that's actually changed is instead of renting it, so they didn't have a tax bill before, they were renting it.
Well, the owner of the property had a tax
Right.
bill, so they paid the $35,000 tax bill.
Right.
Some of that, I don't know what they were paying in rent, but part of that would be going to the tax bill. But ultimately now, they purchase the property, and because of that, they have the opportunity to appeal to pay no taxes, to be exempt.
Right, it is a nonprofit, right?
Correct, it's a not-for-profit. It's just like the right of, whatever is the pregnancy, right of, forget what it's called, first
Prima nocta.
first wave pregnancy up in Johnsburg, that's exempt. If they apply and they meet the criteria in the statutes, then they're going to receive the exemption.
Okay, any questions for Mary? None being heard, I'm gonna move on to the Highway Commissioner's report.
You get my written report. I don't really have too much to add beyond that. I'd be glad to answer questions you have though. We started our striping program for this year. So you don't drive across those wet paint lines. They'll get on your car. We did have some brush pickup this week because of the storm from last week. Just trying to help with down branches and things. We've been making some passes through the subdivision to clean that up. And that is about it. We've finished the second mowing of our right-of-way. Speaking of mowing, we are working on revegetating the back slopes of our right-of-ways, and there's two areas that we started this so far. One is Ringwood Road. Actually, it's not the back slope, but it's part of the right-of-way that was overgrown. We replanted it in native plants, and we looked at it yesterday, and the indication is that those plants are coming in pretty good. So hopefully that'll reduce our costs down the road by not having to mow those areas but once a year. So that's about all I have. Any questions? Glad to answer them.
Yes, I do. I noticed that the Mchenry Township Road District personnel were relining by paint the roads in Mchenry or Macomb Lake, which are not township roads. So do you have any explanation for that?
Sure. We have intergovernmental agreements with many entities, the city of McHenry, Macomb Lake, Mchenry Township, Greenwood Township, several entities like that. We have one piece of equipment, it's a large piece of equipment, and then we bill them for those times, or we exchange services like we do with Mchenry Township and Greenwood.
All right, so what was the situation with Macomb Lake?
It is billed on an hourly basis. Same as it is with the city of McHenry, with the village of Wonder Lake, the village of Ringwood, the village of Johnsburg.
So how much per hour?
We haven't finished it yet, so I couldn't tell you that.
Well, you know how much it is per hour, maybe not the hours that were expected.
I'd have to go back and look at the rate sheet.
So it's a different rate for every town?
No, same rate for every town. There's one rate sheet for all the services that we provide. It's used for all the towns.
So how much is it for repainting?
I'd have to get the rate sheet. I'd be glad to email it to you if you'd like.
Yes, if it's a current rate sheet.
It's the current rate sheet.
You can understand someone's consternation when they see township personnel and equipment doing non-township roads.
Right.
The kind of questions they're raising.
Well, as long as there's an explanation for it, I think it's a important thing to do, to work with our communities to save money for everybody so we can get efforts done more cheaply. Seems pretty commonsensical to me.
Would you have any objection to putting those contracts online?
Actually, I don't know why I would.
So that people can see how much the rates are?
Sure. They actually can, again, fill out a Freedom of Information Act and see what our rates that we charge are. Well, you can call me and I'll email you the rates. It's not a big deal.
That can be done in...
I think everything's a big deal, Steve.
That can be done in the next 60 days? Put it online?
We'll put our rate sheet online within the next week.
Okay.
I'm sorry? Are you doing more cat calls over there?
No, I said very good, sir. I'm sorry.
Mr. Conner, Mr. Conner?
Yes?
I'm sure we can accommodate that, but you need to ask sometimes, or a busy person that does that, so, but I'm sure it can be done. Okay. Any other questions for the Highway Commissioner? Okay, none being heard. I'd like to move, we are going to have to go to executive session, and I will cite the statute in a minute, but I'd like to move the public comment up for now so the public could leave after this, if there is any. Is that okay with the board? Any problem with that? All right, so we're going to have public comment right now. Does anybody else want to make public comment before we? Okay, let's go way back in the room back there. Well, I'm sorry.
I was going to say that too.
Hold on. Let's is there? Sorry, I did skip. Let's board member comments at this time. Okay, I'm not hearing any. So we went through that. So unless you have a comment?
You're jumping out of order on everything.
I am. I just said.
Okay, so, as far as the senior bus alternatives, the 4 sitting members of the county board, is there some kind of a problem?
Mr. Verity, I interrupted the meeting, so please go on.
He's causing a disturbance.
I don't think he is. I'm the chairman, so go ahead.
The 4 sitting members of the county board issued a public letter that took up a quarter page of the local paper listing all the alternatives that were available for the senior bus service. And the big elephant in the room that nobody of these commenters, they can turn their backs, but they cannot turn their backs on the facts. And that is that there's a McRide program that will take everybody in a wheelchair and all disabled and elderly people. I commend people here to read that. As far as I'm concerned, the senior bus service should have been terminated when the county began its own. If in fact, it came before the countywide program in 2011. It's unconscionable to me that we run this duplicate service for 150 people. It's just another thing that has to be cut. It's a patronage scam, and it leads to people.
No comments.
It's a vote buying scam, okay? And the taxpayers are taxed to the gills. We have to cut. This is a duplicate program. It deserves to be cut. And it should have been cut a long time ago. And the prices should have been raised. Not just this year, but it should have been on a parity with the McRide program, but it wasn't. Even though they existed coterminously. So there you have it. There are 5 organizations that will take people for free. So I suggest that these be called if there's a problem for anyone. It's just a matter of calling a different phone number for your ride. And that's it. So it's about $400,000.
Where did we come up with 400,000?
Are you interrupting me?
I'm sorry, I did.
Okay. So we have one set of rules for the chairman, but different ones for everybody else. The gasoline prices, there should be a meter on the gasoline. There isn't. The board found out through the budget process that there is a scam going on.
Wait a second.
Yeah, a scam. The figures we were given were false. There were false figures given us for how much gasoline was used by the bus service, okay?
Are you accusing us of doing something?
I'm accusing you of giving us false information.
You call it a scam, there's a difference.
We never
Get false information.
Well, it went up from, 12,000 to almost 20?
Because that's all we paid. We had
Yeah, okay, well, then for cost accounting purposes, you weren't giving us the real facts.
Mr. Berry, done.
3 minutes are over.
Can you stop these catcalling people, or are you gonna lose control again?
Mr. Berry, your first warning.
Okay, now, any other board comment? Okay, now we'll move on to public comment.
I would just like to say how incredibly disappointed I am with this Board of Trustees. On my lunch hour today, I went through the agenda, I went through the packet, all 122 pages of it, so I know how many are there. I could have answered the questions that you asked of the people from the Jessup Corporation that were up here. That's embarrassing, okay? Do your job. It takes an hour. And how much are you paid and how much time do you have? How many times do you have these minutes ahead of time? Ridiculous. You guys are short-sighted on your desire to cut taxes, that you are disregarding what this community. I am so insulted right now that you guys are just staring ahead. I did not turn my back on you when you were talking, spouting out your whatever fake facts that you wanted to spout out. And I also wanted to call out for Trustee Rakestraw that what you said to Mary Mahady, saying that you wanted another authority when she is your assessor, was very disrespectful to her. You guys are disrespectful to every single member of this township by your lack of foresight and what you should be doing as part of your trustees. And I will tell you that the next 2 years are going to be the longest 2 years of your life, because they'll be the longest 2 years of my life, while I wait to see you guys voted out of office.
Gentleman way in the back of the room there.
My name is John Sarf, and I work in District 156, and I live at 2017 North Pebble Drive. I did not speak before, but just going off on the previous speaker's comments, I work in a school district with high school kids. When I speak to those kids, they look at me and they respect me, okay? You guys are up there looking like you have someplace better to be. You are our representatives. Start acting like it and listening to us.
Any more public comment? Mr. Beltran, I see you first.
Nice that this thing's working again. I wasn't going to say anything, but Mr. Ver's comments kind of peeked me off a little bit. This has been a pattern, not just by Mr. Ver, but also by Mr. Anderson in particular, of accusing us and accusing the people who work for the township of nepotism, of patronage, of having conflicts of interest. And yet, there's never any substantiation. You know, the same thing happened with the road district issue. Saying that the house was packed with people who all work for the road district or are related to people in the road district. Now it's happening with the buses. This is not true. You've had substantial testimony, unanimous testimony of people saying this is the only service that does what these particular people need. That not everything is covered by any of the other services. No, but you choose not to believe that. You have personal agenda. I don't know exactly what that personal agenda is, but it's clearly not the agenda of the people you're supposed to be representing. You folks were elected, it's true, and elections have consequences. But you fail to keep in mind that you were elected by a minority of people, that the number of people voting for other candidates than yourselves exceeded the number of people voting for you. So you do not have a mandate, and I suggest you start listening to the people who you represent. Thank you.
Sir, in the back of the room again. You could stay there if you'd like. We could bring you a microphone. Okay, we could do that.
Yes, I'm, after listening to Mr. Beer, I'm very disappointed to hear the hard-hearted attitude that you had. Last meeting, you heard about the various bus organizations and how they differ. you're comparing apples with oranges. This bus service for Mchenry Township does a wonderful job, door to door, helps people to the house, into the bus, carry groceries, etc., etc. And again, you were here to help us. Now, if you think you're the big tax fighters by saving us $8 a year on our tax bill, well, you're not. You're just plain not. And the only other thing I wanted to say was, I wanted to compliment Jim Cannon and his road crew. Cleaning up the debris from our last storm that we had, cleaning up the debris throughout the township, going through all the subdivisions. Now that is serving the people. He's serving the people. Now you ought to take him as an example. And you ought to be giving him a raise instead of others.
All right, is there any, let's see what's back there. Yeah, this gentleman.
Can I make one quick comment? I didn't pay him to say that either.
My name is Julie Thomas. I would like to make a comment on these 4 other services that exist. Before I started using the Mchenry Township bus, I called them. I called many services because at 55, I didn't plan on being disabled and not being behind the wheel of a car driving anymore. And I called all those services and they turned me down. They told me they didn't have enough staff to provide for us, or they couldn't take me to the locations I needed to go to, or get me there at the times I needed to go. You know, anybody who's disabled or seniors, I know I didn't decide to become disabled. Up until I turned 53, I was working 3 jobs to support my kids. 41 plus years. And then all of a sudden my body said, hey, we don't like you anymore, so we're going to quit on you. And because of this township bus, I don't sit in the house and cry all day. I can go to Walmart, or I can go to the library, and you can sit there with those smug looks on your face, but you never know when it might happen to you. Just remember that. You never know when you may find out that you're in our situations. Thank you.
Sir, you want to speak? Yes.
I consider we take a practical approach to this. Steve Verr has a law firm in town. Bob has a barber shop in town. I suggest that none of us give either one of them any more patronage until this is resolved. That is all I have to say.
He doesn't work with me.
Not that they care. Not that they ever will.
You gonna start ordering here?
There's no order, Mr. Mayor.
People are catcalling.
I didn't hear anyone cat.
Oh, there was a laugh, big deal.
All right.
This is wonderful.
All right.
Go back there, please.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if you were at the same board meeting I was at, but I have bus representatives here saying they can't, and yes, I did make a phone call, they can't handle the people that need the same services of wheelchairs. They don't have enough room, they may not have enough buses. They were here at the meeting and they were explaining why this service is needed. This was employees of the bus services that you're telling us to call for. There is no guarantee that I can get my mother on this McRide. I have to find out in November. I did call them, or I called somebody that gave me the number to call them, but there is no guarantee that she'd be able to use it. I feel sorry for people that actually need the services more than my mom. People that are handicapped, the VFW gentleman that had the orange, was affected from the orange, agent, thank you. People that, depending on this to get to their jobs, that can't drive, they have to be there at a certain schedule. And you didn't really listen to these bus representatives that are employees that know better than I do. And this is the first time I'm going to your town meetings. So this is very important to me. I think you should listen to the people that are in the business that talked last meeting that we had. Apparently you're not listening. And you're not listening to us apparently because you're still going through with canceling this very important service that we need. Thank you for listening. I think you're listening. I hope you are.
Thank you. All right, thank you. All right,
Anyone else at this time? Yes, you in the way back there. Could you give her name, please?
Sarah Schreck. I live in Crystal Lake. I'm the Executive Director of Senior Care Volunteer Network.
thank you.
I'm here today because I've, of course, read about the situation going on with the township bus and have worked on several advisory councils and things of that nature with the bus staff and the township folks here. The reason I'm here is because I am one of the agencies that, I don't even know your name, Steve. I'm one of the agencies that Steve had mentioned as one of the viable sources for the people utilizing the bus. And I wanted to clarify that although we do serve the seniors of the whole county, and we do provide no-cost services, there is, and we fill a gap. We fill a gap for the places that the McRide program doesn't go, because they don't go everywhere. They don't. They don't go to Spring Grove. We do. So we do fill that gap. What we don't do, because we're a volunteer program, and our volunteers drive their own vehicles, we unfortunately cannot serve wheelchair-bound people. We cannot have volunteers lifting people in wheelchairs in and out of their own vehicles. So as much as I want to help you people who need the help, I can't. So we cannot do it all. And these people that are here talking about the service that they need desperately is a service I cannot provide, even though I want to. So I wanted to clarify that for the township board, so that you are aware that we can help. You know, if you're visibly, if you have visual impairment, if you're disabled but you use a mobility aid that we can easily get out of the car, if you're, ambulatory where you don't need assistance, yes, we absolutely can help you. You who are 55, our eligibility is 60 and up. It's a gap. There are services, there's problems in the county with those services. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. I do feel for you guys. I want to be able to help where I can. If you are eligible for services, I would love to be able to help you. We are a nonprofit, 501c3, and we are partially county funded. So they see that the importance of these services too, the McHenry County Board. Okay? That's all. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
All right, for Tutler, first row.
you all have turned your backs on the seniors and disabled in this township. So that's why I got up and I turned my back on you. Yeah, you've asserted that there was some sort of fraud, but you haven't presented any evidence. Hitchens' ratio says that anything that can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed the same. And without evidence, you can't prove it. So show us the evidence that there was that fraud in the fuel. Otherwise, you're just lying. And, I mean, I don't tolerate people that lie, cheat, or steal.
Is that a cat call?
That was a cat call. All right, anybody else? Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
There was something I wanted to be a little more specific about that I refrained from saying, but I understand to say now.
I'm sorry, could you get
Microphone. I need a mic. Yeah, there you go. Hi.
Could you kindly give your name, please, name?
This is for Steve, Bob, and Mike. Please, please don't. Steve? Bob?
Are they awake?
Please, Steve? Okay, so we're mature here. All right, so Steve, Bob, Mike. Please, one of you change, please. The fabrication of what it costs is not what it costs. One house, taxes are $9,633. One house, $320 goes to the township. That's everything that we get all these services for. Everything, the roads, the mosquitoes, everything. $8, less than $8 goes to the bus. Less than $8. But when you dissolve the township, that's going to save us $320 a year of the one house. That's $9,600. That's it. Maybe I might be off by a couple hundred, but that's all I'm seeing. Okay? That's all I'm seeing. And guess what? That'll still be your taxes, even after he gets rid of the buses and manages to completely dissolve the township, which he says all over his Facebook, every single posting. Steve, Bob, Mike, I'm pleading with you, please. My mother's not the only one who needs this bus. So many people need this bus. There is nobody in the voting county at all that supports you guys. Please, I am pleading, I'm pleading. The majority of the money comes from grants. They come from donations. The Northwest Herald, Channel 5 News, all these people that say they can help, but they really can't help. Look at your bills, look at your tax bills, look at the real dollar amounts. You go onto Mchenry Tax Assessor Property Lookup, you put in your address, you'll see the whole breakdown of what goes to county, what goes to schools, what goes to township. It's simple. You can see exactly what you pay. Pretty darn close to the real numbers. One of you three, please, change your vote.
All right, anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Not being heard, we're going to move to executive session for personnel matters. 5 Illinois CS 120/2, parentheses C, parentheses 1. Is that right, Mr. McCall? Okay. So, I would ask for a motion to move to executive session. I'll make that motion. Can you second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Anderson. We're going to reset this meeting and move to executive session and roll call vote. Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Rickstraw. Mr. Yes. Mr. Would you?
Yes, and Mr. Rivera.
Stick.
Well, you never showed me. One thing you gotta tell me. Anyway, you guys go in the public, all right? You have to tell me, why is it okay to tax everybody in this township? Only give a certain. Oh, hi. You gotta wanna.
Everyone pays you a whole pocket.
Every other executive session. We gotta go. Still waiting for us. You heard the motion?
Thank you so much. I was so eloquent. I didn't feel it too. It's so moving. I don't know how to do it. Okay, Marcy.
They say the less people say why they can't accept it. Why was it that easy? I said, how do you say
Well, I guess we covered the last time.
Yeah. Came to the one before and I couldn't watch that. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That guy,
I'm just saying.
he couldn't intimidate me.
If you did it to him, he knew you. Written up.
Larry? What, Larry?
And you know what? I called the hospital, the dialysis centers, the county. They all assure me there's not a problem. Most people use McBride. Most people.
And the cost per ride, it'd be cheaper for the township to
Get rid of it.
contract with an Uber.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, give the Uber guy $20, they provide $10, so it's 30.
Yeah.
And I guess in the area, the Uber people would be happy to sign it. On the other hand, once you get that, you probably end up having a whole lot of people looking for it.
It's not a mandated service, so why is it even an issue?
Oh, well, it's an issue because there's some people who are using it and they're getting free, they're getting something cheap. Okay, I mean, this lady who lived in Johnsburg and then moved to Winter Lake, why didn't she move on to the bus line?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry she's disabled. I'm also sorry that we don't know where the father of her children is either.
Right.
Okay,
Why
where,
do you have 4 children?
why do you have, you know,
Well, maybe there's a good one.
well, there may be, but nonetheless, you know, you should have, at some point, you have to understand you're responsible for your own actions. And I'm sorry she's disabled, but I'm also sorry that, you know, she put herself in that situation. Not with disability. She worked 3 jobs to support the kids, but the story doesn't start being and the question does come down to, you guys are all full of yourselves. Why don't you put together a 501c4 charity? Okay? And I said, fine, you start writing your checks for $1,000 and to give to Mr. Adams to put in a segregated account to pay for this service. And so the taxpayers don't. The whole issue here is to use taxpayers to 40,000 people in Mchenry Township pay for a service used by less than 200. And when there are duplicative services, that's the whole thing. Duplicative. Yeah. How many overlaps do you need, and how much, you know, and how many patronage workers does Adams need? Yeah.
Buying books.
Yeah. Or I guess it's Congress. Whatever it is, the two of them. You know. Now the question is, those people. You know, they can go to work in one of the other services if, you know, those jobs exist. If not, they can get a new one.
And their families are all working in different townships.
Well, yeah. I mean, Adams. I mean, I'm sure he's related to the Adamses of Mchenry. You know, you're talking about patronage and nepotism. Where did Adams come from? His family has been in Mchenry Township politics for 3 generations that I know. Okay, Condon, I think I remember that name or something. Well, I don't have. Well, you know, that happens, but you know, but the point is, how did he get into that position? I mean, it's politics, and well, nepotism is nepotism. Okay? Is it necessarily bad? Not really. Is patronage necessarily bad? Not really. But the point is, it's only bad if you don't have it. If you got it, it's good.
Well, I gotta go. I gotta go to bed. Pack. Going to Minnesota in the morning.
All right. Catch a few walleye for me.
I couldn't have done it without you too.
I wish I was going fishing actually.
What are you gonna do?
Why
Going
else?
to a wedding. So it'll be fun.
That could be good.
But it's just, you know, the whole thing about putting stuff in a suitcase and making sure everything's okay with us.
Don't
Picking up my
forget the
daughter in
bills.
Milwaukee. She's going with me. My
Oh, that
husband
should be
and
fun.
other son are going to Missouri for baseball. And I'm like,
Oh, your son plays what? Travel baseball?
Yeah.
Well, who's he play for?
he actually plays for Elite, which is out of Chicago.
Okay. I umpire baseball.
Huh.
So, and I do a lot of tournaments. I have not seen Elite, but yeah.
So most of this level, the 14s play most of their games, perfect game out of St. Charles. Each league, or each age group, 15, I don't know where they play out of, but this 14s are out of Oswego, kind of, playing St. Charles, even though it's Justin Stones, who's the Cubs guy. His organization, all the off-season training is very close to Wrigley Field. He has a big suite down there, and that's where they do all the off-season stuff for all the age groups. But I'm not that familiar with the different, where they all wind up. So,
I am so happy my kids didn't get into travel.
you know, I have to say, so I have a 20-year-old who did it as well, since he was 9. He's playing for the King County, I think they're called Phantoms in a college league. So he goes to school in Minnesota at St. Thomas, and he's a pitcher there. So,
Any pictures of St. Thomas?
yeah. It is incredible, the commitment for any family, for even one child, if you've got multiple kids, you know, and then you've got multiple sports, and everybody wants so much
You
time.
there,
And
yeah.
we have 3 kids, everyone loved everything, never wanted to quit anything. I literally had a matrix for years, and I would say I drive around in a circle 3 hours a day, dropping, picking up, who I could be, you know, it's just so much. I don't know how families are gonna be able to, it is, it's almost too much, you know? I mean, and luckily, you know, I'm not working anymore, I stopped working 10 years ago, but I don't know how people could do it. You know, and then you want your kids to be able to play a little bit more advanced because the rec leagues are getting so, you know, because they've got so many different travel programs. You know, and not all of them are as extreme, but it's just so much.
And
you
the
know.
expenses.
The expense is one thing, but it's like, you know, I don't want to complain about this, but it's like, you do nothing else other than be like a slave to these activities.
And you're happy they're not involved.
So
with
we've gone on
families.
no vacations, but that's not a big deal. Like my daughter and I will go somewhere with something, my husband, but like you can't put everybody together because the sports teams are just so much. And like when they punish the kids, if you're in multiple sports, and even after the school, you sit out because you went to this other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much. That's like over.
They used to, when I played, they encouraged us to play multiple sports. Now, of course, I went to a very small high school, but the point is that now it's coaches, they want you to specialize.
Yeah.
And you are 12-month athletes for them. Whether it's my son is a high school football coach. They are encouraging their kids, don't play soccer, don't play basketball, but get in the weight room. Once you're in the weight room, then you understand.
All right. Yeah.
I think the birds.
You know, the football guys complain about baseball tournaments because you miss practice.
Football, I hate it. Here it is.
What? I never made him play football.
Oh, well,
He wanted, no.
they would complain. And then he's doing that.
Well, John complained the senior year.
And George.
George loved football, and he was, I remember
He goes, I don't like getting hurt. Oh, that was John.
That was John.
John, yeah. I don't like getting hurt.
John did get some injuries, though.
It's so fun.
So are you guys waiting until after the meeting?
Yeah, so I thought I drove all the way out here. I do have some notes, so I have some notes to share with Steve if he wants them. I was wondering, maybe I should text them if I come to another one, just text back.
I try to do that with them, but.
No, that's really.
It's really annoying when your wife's texting. Well, not always. Sometimes it helps.
All right, well, I'll be looking forward to the next week anyway.
Yeah. Oh, no, they'll write it up. There's a big show of people showing up demanding the state.
Insensitive, mean, cruel.
Right.
Behavior.
Yeah.
Better than that. Bye.
I'm giving him lots of
Have a
have
safe
fun.
trip.
Yeah.
Safe trip. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Well, I just start to like. No, I mean, start to waver on the bus. Which, whatever.
Well, the point is once townships were a good idea in the 1800s, but when you started getting municipalities, then, now the question is, there are certain services that have to be provided, plowing the roads in the rural areas and such like that, but, you see townships going out of their way to start social service organizations so that they can justify the existence of the, yeah. Well, and I remember when I was a supervisor, we'd go to these meetings and they'd say, you should look into this, you should look at starting this, you should start this, like this. And I'm saying, that's not what I'm here for.
I know.
Yeah.
And, but that's the whole. It's not like you guys. And the pension. Did you get a pension?
I get 2 checks every month for being a retired government employee.
For how many years?
8 years, 2 weeks. And because it's over 8 years, I qualify for pension. And
You're getting checked down? Oh,
actually, it's over 60 or 62.
wow.
It was over, I didn't realize I qualified until a year after I qualified. And I just had an idea, and I called up, IMRF. And she went through the checklist, no. Because I was a former federal employee. We don't have reciprocity with them. Then I came up with, well, I had a job for a while on the toll road. And she said, well, yeah, they had 20 years ago, they came into our program. And I said, well, this is before that. No, but anybody does. I said, the problem is, I took all my money out. And when I left, because I never expected to be going back to the toll road or even the government. And she said, it doesn't matter, you can buy your way back in. So I wrote a check for $700.
That's all?
To buy back in. They didn't have much in from there. It was the amount I took out, and then then interest. And I get it was about $400 a month, and Barbara gets $400 for paying $700.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No,
and that's not your pension.
That's pension.
Oh,
that's pensions. They're just now. IMRF is totally funded. The state one is not. Because part of it was Mchenry Township, and with Chicago Heights, that was IMRF. But then the stuff with the AG's office and the toll road, and those are under the state employee fund, which is not fully funded. So I figure I take that money, and that's where I make my political contributions. So that way, I can write $1,000 check to the Make America Great Committee and to the Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee and things like that. But and I laugh at the whole situation. The situation certainly shouldn't exist, but at least I can use it to do certain things. I'll stay here. They have to come back in here to close the meeting. Yeah. Oh, one thing I said is that while Adams can chide board members, he cannot eject. He does not have the authority to eject. A board member can only be ejected by majority vote of the board. Oh. Why? They would have it on. Oh, and it's on the minute. Oh.
That's Mchenry Township Live.
Oh. What, they show 24 hours a day in empty room?
No, they won't shut this off until they're done with the homework.
Oh. Yeah. Well, there's only two types of things that they can go in. And, one is litigation. They said there was no litigation. And the other would be personnel. And is there a personnel issue? By law, he's not supposed to tell you.
No, he doesn't.
But give me a break.
No, he's like good.
Yeah. No, I remember I was on the township board when I was a supervisor. We had no, I was on the board, and the guy I knew, his son was a drug addict and was just causing all sorts of problems. What they did is they lived in Johnsburg. They rented an apartment for him in like Lakewood or something like that. And I didn't realize he'd done that. I thought he didn't know about this, but evidently they were told by Albie Adams to do this. So he rented an apartment in Mchenry Township, and so the kid would apply for general assistance. Okay? And I saw this. I went to him and I said, "Wow, you realize Robbie is on general assistance?" I said, "Well, I didn't know he was on general assistance. We just rent a place for him. His mother buys him groceries once a week, but we couldn't keep him in the house because he was stealing all the time. It was either, yeah, there was no way to live, which I can certainly understand that. I think the kid died of drug overdose. It's hard.
You're so close, but you got this extremely well.
Yep. A few nicks, but nevertheless, it was still. No, and the fact is that now, you've got 4 of them, they all have professional licenses, they all have careers, they're all progressing, they're all progressing in their career, and I have friends at work whose kids are, in and out of rehab, and, it's, it is, but, lucky things turned out. So Steve's gonna be driving Mike. Now, Mike is on social security and disability, that's it?
I don't know if he is or not.
What was that?
Because he's probably, I'm saying 68.
Well, then you'd be on straight social security.
He might be.
That's better than disability. Disability, yeah. But still.
He's been this way for a year and a half.
Yeah, I don't remember during the campaign, I thought, yeah.
So he was worse. He couldn't. He missed 2 months of the meetings. Oh, now he's at least able to come. Now he just started therapy this week at
Yep. That's something which, casts a black eye on doing that. The one thing is, I was talking to Steve and said, we should get a home equity loan or something like that, reverse mortgage, if he can't afford to live and he wants to stay in the area.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole thing of it during this last year and a half was discovering, okay, what's happening to me, and not really having a much of a support system in his family. And then, you know how it is if you can't really get out? But he was kind of better in quite a while.
Well, is he married?
No.
He lives by himself?
Yeah.
Has he thought about selling his house and moving into less expensive?
I don't know what it's about, but you know how you can get into kind of a, I don't even care at this point, but that's probably what I'm guessing.
Here, okay, I can smell a rat right now. Adams is gonna go to him and say, we'll put you in Valley High if you resign. Okay, and then that creates the opening, so that there's no, and then filling the opening is gonna be, what? You think so? Well, I can smell a rat because that's the rat which they can play. We'll play that off. The idea is to get him, and then is the majority they have, and then they have to, give him a break. He's already, this is something they all know about. I mean, I put Ed DeBork's mother-in-law, lived in Chicago, and moved her into Ed's house for 6 minutes, feeding him. And feeding me to Charlie. It's like that. And we were undersubscribed for Mchenry Township, Western Townships. You have 20% of the population, and 60% of the people in there, they live Valley High. Valley High is the Taj Mahal of school districts. They are beautiful there. Just don't go out there and dig. Well, that used to be the county court farm. And Al Capone owned the sheriff. And what they do is take the government lives out of the woods. The best trauma hospital in Illinois county board. And then it became county, then they made it county.
Right here? I'm done. Right outside there, yeah. One thing I signed is they'll come in. Steve?
Pass it down.
And Mike, if you want to stay right there, we're going to reconvene this meeting, and then I'm looking for at the time of 9:50, let's say. And I'm going to call for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Bob, I'll second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay, no nays being heard, meeting's adjourned at 9:51.
Night, Dan. You take it. I'm gonna take it. Are you going out of the mic? So you take call? Dan, but no. Oh, absolutely. Are we, is there a copacetic? I understand.
You guys want to go with everybody else?
Next time. Yeah, hey, good to see you again. You mind? Yeah.
I'm very surprised at you.
So, it's just all this crazy, so he's been just on a vendetta against me anyway, so.
No, I don't understand. So what Mike said, Mike Rayshaw just saw me outside, he asked what, he said that I said that, and I said what we heard is that you said that you wanted an authority that wasn't Mary Mahavy to give it input. And he said, that's not what I said. He said that he would, that he was asking your opinion as being the foremost authority on it in the room.
That's what he's talking to.
Right, so I can look at it, and I told him that, so this is me. I said, I'm sorry if that's what you said. I know, I was in the back of the room, but that's what we heard, because when I heard it, it struck a chord with me, so that's what I had heard, so. I wasn't a good person or anything, but of course, well, I might have misheard it, you know? Yeah, but people in the front heard it differently, so. Yeah. Oh, Steve was really bad in the beginning. I'm like, so we're talking. One of the most irritating things is these men who don't use cell phones. Yeah. Oh, shit. Well, we have money in the budget for training, so, you know, we're going to do that, so.